Greetings to all of you. In this video, I would like to give an astrological overview of the extraordinary planetary energies coming in 2025. I see this as an extraordinary year with so many planetary shifts and significant markers that are showing us that this year is a time of metamorphosis. We are being called into profound transformation as we're now moving more fully out of the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius, particularly with Pluto's movement fully into the sign of Aquarius at the end of November of 2024. And remember, at the end of the year, as we experienced the solstice in December, the Earth's ley lines went into harmonic convergence, in which they will be activated and supporting us in our shifts in this time of accelerated change and into expanded consciousness as we now are moving into 2025. In addition to that, 2025 is the year of the solar maximum, when we will be experiencing increasing solar energies and solar flares coming to us from the sun as it is getting activated, both by its time of maximum intensity, but also remember, our sun and solar system are moving through this galactic current sheet, which both is impacting the magnetic field of the sun and the earth and is increasing our exposure to solar energies and cosmic energies that are coming to us. These are going to intensify in 2025. And I believe there is a gift to these energies and a challenge. And part of what's critical as we're moving into this new year is that we work with these planetary energies, these energies coming to us from the sun, from the galactic center, in the most conscious way possible. And I'm going to be giving some guidance towards the end of the video on how we can work with these energies in a practical way to stay centered, to stay grounded, to work with these energies in the most conscious way possible. The gift of the increasing solar energies and cosmic energies coming to us is that they are supporting us in this transformation that we're in into higher consciousness. The solar energies are activating our pineal glands. I do believe these energies are impacting us on all levels, physically, emotionally, spiritually. They're activating our dormant DNA. They're guiding us in how to absorb this energy of light, which carries information from the cosmos to guide us in changing more fully into homoluminous ones, beings of light, and being able to move in this accelerated way into more ascended, higher consciousness. Remember, at the end of March of 2025, we are moving fully out of the Kali Yuga, the time in the Hindu Yuga cycle, that 24,000 year cycle, where we've come out of a period of forgetting, of being at our lowest level of consciousness. And that has extended up across the past 5,000 to 6,000 years. We're coming out of that shadow time, that low level of consciousness for humanity, into the light and into increasing consciousness. But how we work with these energies can support us in that expanding consciousness, but it also will be a stormy time as we're in this transition, and many are resisting the changes. And so it will be a time of chaos, a time of storms in a literal sense, because as we are moving through that galactic current sheet, it is activating storms on all the planets in our solar system. But I also believe that we will be experiencing increasing storms as we're feeling these shifts in the collective consciousness. And There are those of us that are on a path of consciousness, on a path of spiritual growth and evolution. And there are many that are resisting that, and some that are still caught in living from their unconscious and coming out of reactivity, coming out of the unresolved trauma and pain from the past. Remember, from a neuropsychological perspective, as Joe Dispenza and many others have stated, unless we heal, unless we work our process consciously, our actions, our decisions, our behavior tends to be shaped by our unconscious process. From Joe Dispenza's perspective, 90, on average, 90% of our behavior, our choices, our actions are controlled by our unconscious process. So it's very critical as we're moving into this year to be working in whatever way is right for you, to have a daily practice, to be developing more that witness self, that observing self that can see and reflect on your feelings, on the choices that you're making, so that you're coming from a centered place and coming from making your choices and decisions consciously rather than coming from a reactive place unconsciously. This is part of why I've stressed in my videos across the past few years why it is so important that we each do our healing work, because that is both clearing our energy field, clearing us to open more fully to this influx of light that is transforming us physically, emotionally, spiritually, but also it guides us then in how to integrate these other planetary shifts and energies in a way that we can access the gift of them and not get caught in experiencing them in a way that is destabilizing, so that we can experience the gifts of them and not the shadow aspects of them. How we work with these planetary energies is tied to our own interaction with them and our own level of consciousness. Remember that we live in a cosmic hologram. The stars, the planets, the earth are conscious. And the gift for us as humanity is our capacity for self-consciousness, for self-reflection, which enables us then to be co-creators with these energies of the cosmos. We can be consciously attuning to them, being in relationship with them, and then co-creating with them. So the more we are conscious, the more we are able to operate out of being in alignment with our soul self, being connected to a witness self, so that we're working our own process consciously, working with these planetary energies and solar energies consciously, then we can truly access the gift of them, co-create with them, and not be thrown out of balance by them. I think particularly with the increasing solar and cosmic energies, we are going to see more people feel thrown out of balance and destabilized by these intensifying energies. And I think those of us that are working together in community and collaborating to work with these energies consciously can not only help hold a centered, balanced, energetic in the collective morphogenic field as we move through this coming year, but we can be supportive of those who are getting thrown out of balance by these energies. Because I feel like one of the impacts of these increasing solar energies will be it's bringing light into our lives individually and collectively to reveal what's been in the shadow, to bring what has been hidden into the light of awareness so that we can clear it, heal it, transform it. But again, there are those who are resisting the change, and there are some who are actually trying to cling to control and to the paradigms of the past and are keeping their agenda in the shadows. And I do believe with the shifts that are coming in 2025, more and more of what has been hidden, has been suppressed or repressed, will be revealed in the light of consciousness. And the more that we're centered, the more that we can navigate the intensity and the storminess of this profound time of transition. And remember, as it is a chaotic time of change as we move through this transition, it can also be a heightened time of creativity. And I will talk more about that a bit later in the video. But part of what is profound in 2025 is how many of the outer planets in our solar system are shifting from one astrological sign to another. What's amazing about that is that these outer planets, particularly the three outermost transpersonal planets, have the longest orbits. Uranus's orbit is 84 years, Neptune's 165, Pluto's is 248. So on average, Pluto is in one astrological sign between 15 and 30 years, and it varies because Pluto has an elliptical orbit. Neptune spends about an average of 14 years in a sign, Uranus an average of 7 years in a sign, and Pluto made its shifts in 2024 and now is fully in Aquarius until 2044. So as we move into 2025, we are going to see shifts in Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, and Jupiter. All will be shifting their signs in 2025. Neptune will move into Aries on March 30th. Saturn will then move into Aries on May 24th. Jupiter will move into Cancer on June 9th, and Uranus into Gemini on July 7th. It's extraordinary that we're seeing these profound shifts, and the outermost planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, will all be shifting from ways they've been in sextiles with each other in earth and water signs. Pluto was in Capricorn, Neptune in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus. Two, now all will be in air and fire signs. Pluto in Aquarius, Neptune in Aries, Uranus in Gemini. This is a shift in energy, a shift in focus. These three outermost planets in particular are the ones that call us into radical transformation. And I'll talk a little bit more about their dance with each other in a minute. But it is so significant that we're seeing all these shifts in the planetary energies that I think are calling us, supporting us as we're in this time of metamorphosis. But it is such a signal to us that this will be an accelerated time of change. We will also, as we move into January of 2025, see the lunar nodes shifting from where they've been, South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries, now into South Node in Virgo, North Node in Pisces. The lunar nodes shift only every 18 months. So the fact that we're seeing all of these shifts happening in this time frame of 2025 is truly extraordinary. It's also very significant that Mars and Venus will both be in the initial months of 2025 in their most intense times of transformation in their orbits in relationship with the sun. And remember that Mars has an orbitary process with the sun in its journey of completing one cycle every 26 months. Venus's complete cycle is 584 days. So the fact that both of them are also within a few months going to be in their most critical times of transformation is truly extraordinary. And I think it is showing us not only that we are being called to more consciously be in this process of change and moving into the new forms of the Aquarian age: truth, justice, living in harmony, community, collaboration with each other, and co-creating with cosmic consciousness. But it's also showing us that we're being called to transform the ways that we've been working with the energies of Mars and the energies of the sacred masculine, and Venus, the energies of the sacred feminine, to bring them more into balance and harmony with each other. So this is going to be truly an extraordinary year. And the more that we can understand the themes and see the bigger picture and understand the shifts that we're undergoing, and the more we can stay centered and clear about that, the more we can ride the waves of this time of transformation in a way that is allowing us to integrate them, to work with the creativity and the gifts of them, and not get caught in the chaos and the storminess of this transition time. Remember, this is like a birthing process, and we're really in an accelerated way now, coming through the birth canal and beginning to feel that we're emerging into the light. We can begin to sense these new forms that we're moving into, even though they have not fully materialized. But I think this is a heightened time for us to envision and begin to co-create with the cosmos what these new forms will look like and begin to bring them into form. This is particularly being activated by these shifts in the outermost planets. And let me again highlight these changes that will happen, particularly with Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune and their relationship with Pluto. Pluto, as our outermost planet in the inner solar system, from an evolutionary astrology perspective, is about our evolution of our soul selves. It is about how are we working that evolution of consciousness individually and collectively. So as it's now fully in the sign of Aquarius, it is activating our movement into the Aquarian paradigms that are so different, not only from the paradigms of the age of Pisces, but as I've been discussing in earlier videos, we've been caught in these out of balanced patterns and paradigms, particularly coming out of the age of Aries, that then infused and affected our experience of the age of Pisces and have come right up to this threshold of the Aquarian age. And I truly believe, as we're coming to the end of the Kali Yuga at the end of March, these patriarchal power over paradigms of the past are increasingly going to be deconstructing and dissolving to support our movement into the Aquarian age. But how we navigate this shift and how consciously we work with these transits and these energies will impact how this transition unfolds. We co-create with these energies of the cosmos. We are in a cosmic hologram, co-creating with the energies around us. What's extraordinary is that the outermost transpersonal planets that are the ones that really call us into transformation collectively and individually have been sextiling each other essentially since June of 2023 and will continue in a dance with each other, sextiling each other until 2030. So they are guiding us through this transformational time. And as they're sextiling each other, sextiles are aspects that were meant to work consciously. These are energies that naturally can understand each other and work in synchronicity with each other. So they're guiding us in how to be integrating these transformational energies to be in this shift. And the focal point, the center point of those sextiles is Neptune. Neptune in Pisces, and then it will shift into Neptune in Aries. Neptune, from that evolutionary astrology perspective, is how we're meant to work with our collective consciousness. Neptune is about our awareness that we're all interconnected and that we are a part of the sea of cosmic consciousness. Neptune in Pisces has been calling us to come back into spiritual consciousness, supporting us in moving into unity consciousness, that remembrance that we're each fractal expressions of the consciousness of the cosmos. Neptune in Pisces has also been supporting us in integrating the gifts of the age of Pisces and releasing the shadow aspects of the age of Pisces. The gifts of the age of Pisces have been reconnecting with our spiritual consciousness, coming back into living from our hearts with love, coming back into that capacity for empathy, for compassion, but also more fully activating our intuition, our imagination, our capacity to envision these new ways of being that we can move into. And it's been helping to clear the shadow aspects of the age of Pisces, which are the ways that we've gotten out of balance with those paradigms and caught in addiction, delusion, illusion, and an over idealization of technology, which is related to the sign opposite Neptune, Virgo, and our tendency to get overly caught in our analytical minds and using that shadow aspect of Virgo. As we experienced the sextiles of Pluto when it was in Capricorn, Neptune in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus. Uranus, from that evolutionary astrology perspective, is the planet that guides us in our individuated consciousness. How are we meant to see clearly through patterns that are out of balance in the collective consciousness to be reformers, to be energies to support the healing and coming back into balance in our systems and structures and in our collective consciousness? Uranus in Taurus has been guiding us to see how we've been out of balance with our resources, with our economies, with how we manage our relationship to the earth, how we've gotten caught in these paradigms of power over, corruption, competition, conquest, and greed. So Uranus has been trying to cut through those out of balance ways we've been in relationship with the earth, with our own bodies, with our resources, to guide us back into more clarity and right relationship with the earth and how we can live in justice and equality and get freedom from these power over paradigms. So in their dance together, they've been supporting the deconstruction of these out of balance paradigms of the past to support us in moving into the Aquarian paradigms. As they all shift signs, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, Pluto will remain in Aquarius, Neptune will move into Aries, Uranus will move into Gemini. I see that movement of Neptune into Aries as giving us the capacity to now more fully envision the new forms and use our intuition, use our creativity to be activating how we can begin to move more fully into the Aquarian paradigms. And Uranus in Gemini is challenging us to cut through the beliefs, perceptions of the past that no longer serve us, to be able to be in an accelerated way, seeing things in new ways, thinking about things in new ways, increasing our spiritual consciousness. So this is an extraordinary time as these outermost planets will be shifting their signs and moving into this new dance together in air and fire signs. And I think as Saturn moves into Aries in May, and then is in a dance with Neptune in Aries from May 25th to August 31st. That's going to be an accelerated time in which we're going to be supported in envisioning the new forms and how we can begin Saturn to structure them, be disciplined in how we manifest them. Many of us have been engaging in these meditations, envisioning the new earth together. I do believe now, as we're in 2025, we're going to be supported in how we can more fully manifest these paradigms and forms of the new earth and how we can be in the Aquarian paradigms together. What's significant then is as we move towards the end of 2025, these outer planets will go retrograde. Pluto will go retrograde but stay in Aquarius from May to October of 2025. Neptune will go retrograde and move back into Pisces from October 22nd to December 10th. Uranus will go retrograde and go back into Taurus from September 5th to February 3rd to 2026. And Saturn will go retrograde in July 12th, moving back into Pisces until November 27th. I see the end of 2025 as a critical time when we can reflect on these changes and the rapid accelerating transformation that we're in, how we can integrate them, reflect on them, be continuing to synthesize and work through the dissolution of the paradigms of the past to then, as we move into 2026, continue to move in a more accelerated way into the new forms and paradigms of the Aquarian age. And as we move into 2026, all of these planets will move more fully into those new signs. Neptune will move fully into Aries on January 26th, 2026. Saturn will move fully into Aries on February 13th of 2026. And Uranus will move fully into Gemini April 25th of 2026. So I see 2025 and 2026 as these bridge years of accelerating change. And I truly believe that how we as humanity co-create with these energies will determine the trajectory that we are on as we move through these coming years. I see the years of 2025 to 2032 as critical transition years, and that as we come to 2032, whatever that timeline and trajectory that we are on as humanity is likely to get more clear in terms of the path that we're on. And I do believe that this is such a critical choice point for us as humanity, that if we don't clear these out of balanced paradigms of the past and the patriarchal power over paradigms that have been active for the last 5,000 to 6,000 years, we will carry them into the age of Aquarius in a way that will be about an idealization of technology, a movement towards transhumanism, a loss of our sense of humanity and our capacity in what we are capable of with our consciousness, into more disempowered ways of being, and a movement towards increasing self-destruction and destruction of the planet. But if we heal and clear these out of balance paradigms of the past and all the energies of these critical transition years are supporting us in doing that. The energies of the earth are supporting us in doing that. The energies of the cosmos are calling us into that transformation. Then we have a capacity to utilize our consciousness, our creativity, to co-create with the cosmos in ways that we can barely imagine now. But we are in this accelerated time of transition and change. You know, as I think about these two trajectories, an image that comes to mind for me about staying caught in an over idealization of technology such that we let technology and AI control our lives and control our world, not being in service to us, but we become more and more enslaved to it. If you think about this time that we're in as a time of profound metamorphosis, like the caterpillar going into the chrysalis, which is where we are now, to become the butterfly, then we are realizing we have incarnated in this time to be a part of this radical transformation into accelerated, increasing higher consciousness to reclaim the awareness of our capacity as humans, our ability to be co-creators with the cosmos in extraordinary ways. But if we stay locked into the paradigms of the past, continue to be caught in this paradigm of scientific materialism and of separation and disconnection from our spiritual nature and from our connection to the consciousness of the cosmos, then we will be like scientists trying to put microchips and utilize technology to increase the efficiency of the caterpillar, its capacity to move more rapidly or to think more clearly or to process information more rapidly. But it will be a caterpillar. We have the capacity to be in this time of transformation and transmutation to become homo luminous ones, to remember that we are energy beings, that we are conscious co-creators with the cosmos in a way that we can morph into this extraordinary way of being in the world in ways that we have forgotten. But again, if you look at this from the perspective of the precessional cycle and that understanding of the Hindu Yuga cycle, we've known those ways of higher consciousness in the past. And we, as we are moving into the Aquarian age, are given the opportunity to remember those ways of being, to envision them, and to begin to manifest those new forms in a new, extraordinary, transformational way. A book that I highly recommend that talks about this critical transition time and these choices that we can make as humanity is a book that's coming out at the end of January of 2025 by Gregg Braden called Pure Human, and how we can reclaim the understanding of our divinity, our true humanity, and move in these directions of higher consciousness. So as we move into 2025, I see January through March as a very accelerated time of change. In January, on January 3rd, we will have the exact opposition of Mars and Pluto, with Mars at 1 degree of Leo, Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius, activating more fully that transformation of how we work with the energy of Mars, how we are channeling our energy and acting in the world. And it is supporting us in more fully activating our movement into the Aquarian paradigms. Pluto as that great energy of transformation, and Mars in Leo at its highest level of consciousness is about living from the heart with courage and acting in creative ways to be moving into those Aquarian paradigms. Then on January 11th, we see the shift in the lunar nodes from South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries, now South Node in Virgo, North Node in Pisces. And as it moves into Pisces, Neptune, still in Pisces, will be conjunct the lunar node from January 12th through March 29th. So this is an accelerated time when we're called into our spiritual consciousness, called into Neptune, that higher octave of Venus, living from our hearts with love, coming back into compassion, peace. As this new moon, December 30th, was activating, are radiating, emanating the energy of love and peace and harmony. This is getting accelerated as we move into 2025, and Neptune in Pisces conjuncts the North Node in Pisces, then until March 29th. On January 13th, we have the full moon, the moon at 23 degrees of Cancer, the sun at 23 degrees of Capricorn, but they will be in alignment. The moon will be conjunct Mars, that's now gone retrograde back into Cancer, and will be at 27 degrees of Cancer, opposite Pluto, now at 1 degree of Aquarius. And I'll talk more about this as we move into January and get closer to that full moon. But what we're seeing in January are these movements of these accelerated shifts and a focus on the transformation of Mars and how we're working with that Mars energy, how we're shifting out of these power over paradigms and the unconscious, out of balanced ways of using Mars, to be transforming that into an accelerated way that we're being guided to come back into compassion, come back into alignment with our soul selves, and work with Mars in that more balanced way that is coming from the heart and is able to access our creativity. Instead of it being about competition and conquest, we're being called into that utilization of Mars that is about how do we bring our unique gifts and creativity into the world. And amazingly enough, on January 15th, so think of all these shifts that are happening as we move into January of 2025. On January 15th, Mars, in its cycle with the sun, will come into opposition with the sun at 26 degrees of Cancer, opposite the sun at 26 degrees of Capricorn. This is the time in the Mars cycle when Mars is at its brightest and is in its most profound time of transformation. Remember, in the Mars cycle, Mars is conjunct the sun and then separates from the sun and is on its hero's journey of exploration and discovery, to then, at the time of the opposition with the sun, realize, oh, this isn't a process of separation and individuation. This has been a hero's journey of exploring and discovering my uniqueness. It's a discovery of individuation, to be bringing my gifts back into community, back into connection with Source, to be of service in the world. So as Mars is opposite the sun, it's remembering its connection with the sun, and the sun as Source, the center of our solar system, to be then transforming and coming back in service to community. This will occur on January 15th, and that the meaning of that degree of Mars and Mars in Cancer, how are we acting out of compassion as we're bringing these gifts, our unique individual gifts, into community? The meaning of 26 degrees of Cancer, the Sabian symbol, is a storm in a canyon. How do we face a crisis philosophically? So, in a profound way, this time of Mars coming into its full expression and transformation is saying, change the way that you act. Come from compassion. Let go of those power over paradigms. Let go of greed, corruption, competition, conquest. Come back into the realization we are in this together. The movement into the Aquarian age is from an overemphasis on individuality and separation, the I, to come into more connection with the we. We are unique individuals bringing our gifts into service in community. And as we're being guided back into using our gifts and our Mars energy for compassion, Cancer, it's also signaling to us this will be an intense time on the planet. This will be a stormy time, but we are guided to hold that and face that storminess philosophically, spiritually, to see the bigger picture of what's unfolding and to trust the guidance that we are being given and the support that we have from the energies of the earth and sky and our connection to cosmic consciousness. So we're going to see all these rapid shifts in January, and then we will also see an accelerated time of change in March, as at the end of March. On March 22nd, Venus will come to its most profound transformational time in its cycle and in its interaction with the sun. Remember, Venus is an evening star, and then it comes into its inferior conjunction with the sun, which is its most intense time and is its time of transformation. And then it emerges as a morning star in its brightest time in its cycle. This is the most intense time of the Venus cycle. And Venus will be conjunct the sun on March 22nd at 2 degrees of Aries. And the meaning of that degree in the Sabian symbols is seeing ourselves in the context of our relationships with others. So I see this profound time in the Venus cycle as our experiencing the transformation of Venus, and then it will emerge into view on about March 30th in the sign of Pisces, coming out of this transformational time to come out in that energy of Pisces. And at that time, it will be conjunct Neptune, Saturn, North Node, Mercury. Again, activating this Piscean energy of compassion. How are we in relationship with each other from a place of love and empathy and harmony and compassion? And calling us back into relationship with each other, into right relationship with each other and the earth. And amazingly enough, as Venus is emerging at the same time on March 29th, we will have a partial solar eclipse. It will be a supermoon, and the sun and moon will be at 9 degrees of Aries. Remember, since the lunar nodes are shifting into Virgo and Pisces, then the other eclipses of the year will be in the signs of Virgo and Pisces. So again, this theme of Virgo and Pisces is going to be a critical theme beginning in January of 2025 for the next 18 months. And again, I see this as a profound time to be clearing the out of balance paradigms of the age of Pisces, to access and integrate the gifts, and to be in an accelerated way guiding us, North Node in Pisces, back into unity consciousness, back into connection with cosmic consciousness, back into compassion and empathy and connection with and for each other, and into an accelerated time of being able to envision and see the ideals of what we can move into and envision the new world together. But this partial solar eclipse at 9 degrees of Aries, the Sabian symbol for that is about a person teaching new forms for old symbols. That could be the theme of the year for 2025. How do we deconstruct the out of balance paradigms of the past and see the new forms, the new paradigms, the new creative ways that we can move into being as we're moving into accelerated consciousness and moving out of disconnection from each other, from the earth, from the cosmos, back into unity consciousness, back into the understanding that we're soul selves having this human experience, back in to power with and for each other, and releasing the power over paradigms of the past. Then on March 30th is when Neptune will move into Aries and be at 0 degrees of Aries and be in this powerful combination and conjunctions with Saturn, the North Node, Mercury, Venus. All of them will be in Pisces, but Neptune will now move to 0 degrees of Aries, activating, okay, we're in this energy of coming back into our spiritual consciousness and being supported in going in new directions and envisioning these new forms. 0 degrees of Aries will be a critically important degree in 2025 and into 2026 because Neptune and Saturn will come into their exact conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries, February 20th of 2026. The Sabian symbol for that degree is a woman rises out of the water, a seal rises to embrace her. A woman rises out of the water, and a seal rises to embrace her. Dane Rudger, who has written extensively about these Sabian symbols, saw this 0 degrees of Aries as a time of our emerging out of this kind of immersion in collective consciousness into the capacity for more individuated consciousness, Aries. But I see a different meaning for this degree as we're moving into the Aquarian age. That 0 degrees of Aries still holds that energy of how do we honor our individuation in a balanced way, like Mars is guiding us into. How do we honor our uniqueness to bring it in service to community, to the world? But I also see this image of a woman rising out of the water and a seal rising to embrace her as a way in which Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, and then in its conjunction, exact conjunction with Saturn at 0 degrees of Aries in February of 2026, is saying, how do we honor the rising again of the energies of the sacred feminine coming out of the connection with sea, with source, with the consciousness of water and the consciousness of the cosmos? And how do we be embraced by and come back into conscious connection with the energies of the sea, the energies of our source on this planet, the energies of the sacredness of the life around us, to be back in connection with collaboration and community with the life forms of the planet in a way that we are coming back into unity consciousness. We are coming back into that understanding of our oneness with all that is. This is the theme. This is what's getting activated within us, is how do we reclaim that connection with oneness and unity consciousness, but honor, as I talk about the meaning of the Aquarian age, the sovereignty of the self in the sanctity of community and in unity with cosmic consciousness. How do we come back into that alignment with our soul selves, keep that awareness of our witness selves, to be allowing our actions to be coming from our envisioning this new earth together that is about harmony, balance, peace, love, collaboration, community, with our bringing our unique gifts out to support that coming into manifestation. So as we're experiencing this incredible time of accelerating change and transformation and the capacity for us to move into accelerated spiritual consciousness, remember, it is so significant that in the midst of all these shifts, we're coming to the end of the Kali Yuga at the end of March of 2025. So again, January through March is such a profound time of increasing shifts. And then I see the end of 2025 as a time to be reflecting on these shifts, to be preparing for the next accelerated time of change as we move into 2026. So how do we stay centered in this accelerating time of change and the storminess, the chaos of this time? Because I do think we're going to continue to see the backlash effect as those who are striving to cling to the old paradigms are increasingly clinging to power over and an attempt for control. And again, I think part of what's absolutely critical and that Uranus is helping us with, we need to let that Uranian energy of truth and clarity cut through the illusions and the manipulations and the distortions that are coming to us through the media, through these power over paradigms, to see the truth, to set ourselves free, and to have the capacity to see things in new ways. I think this is a heightened time of creativity. But the creativity won't come from reforming the paradigms of the past. I think as we're moving into the Aquarian age, we're being guided to create new, innovative systems that aren't about reforming the patterns of the past, but are about creating a parallel reality that is in alignment with these Aquarian paradigms. One example of that, from my perspective, is the People's Health Alliance. We see and know that our healthcare systems are dysfunctional and are in a process of deconstructing. They are so caught in the power over paradigms where it's about profit and not about the welfare of the patients, of the people. It's not about healthcare, it's about profiting off illness, sadly. And as we're moving into the Aquarian paradigms and these systems and structures of our global community, our economies, our healthcare systems, our educational systems, our political systems, all of these systems are being deconstructed in order for these new forms to emerge. So it's a chaotic time. But we have this heightened time of creativity also. So that, like we see with the People's Health Alliance, they're not trying to reform the insurance system or the medical system as it's been. They're launching a whole new, innovative, holistic, creative way of working healthcare that is based on caring about people, that is based on collaboration, based on ways healthcare can be equitable and economically available for all. It is coming from these Aquarian paradigms of collaboration, creativity, caring for each other, empowering each other, working together to bring harmony and balance into the world. So I see in lots of ways new innovative energy systems. There are transition towns around the world that are moving into new forms of economies that reflect these more Aquarian paradigms. It's happening everywhere. Sadly, the mainstream media doesn't cover any of these innovative organizations and efforts and communities that are already moving into the Aquarian paradigms, but it's happening. And I hope to feature more and more people in the coming year with my interviews who are doing that kind of work. And it is exhilarating to be a part of that and to be seeing what we can manifest as we move into these new paradigms together. So, part of what's important is don't get caught in fear, don't get mired in reactivity to the chaos and to the out of balanced paradigms. Put your actions into creativity and co creating these new forms with others that you're in community with. It's critical as we're moving into this accelerated time of change that we find connections in community. That's a part of the meaning of the Aquarian age. Find that connection, whether it's in person, it's locally, or it's globally. Connect with those who are like-minded, who are working this time consciously to be both supported in community and connecting with each other to be co-creating these new forms together. It's some of what I so appreciate about this community and how we support each other in that. It's also a way to stay centered in the midst of the storminess, that we can support each other, help each other to keep seeing the bigger picture, to keep visualizing what we're moving into when we feel out of balance or we start getting caught in the storminess or the chaos or caught in fear. Hold that with compassion, but be supported in community to come back into balance. I also think it's really going to be critical in 2025 that we each have an individual practice. Whatever that is for you, whatever spiritual practice helps you stay grounded and centered and in your connection with cosmic consciousness, do it. It could be walking in nature and going into a meditative state. It can be a sitting meditation, a mindfulness meditation. It can be journaling and reflecting on your feelings and experience and opening to the guidance coming to you from spirit. It can be monitoring your dreams. Have your own practice, whatever that is, that helps you stay connected with your soul self and in alignment with your witness self so that you can see and observe when you start getting caught in reactivity or you start getting pulled into fear or you start getting pulled out of balance. It's going to be critical that we have those ways to come back to center and to hold that energy of stillness, of being centered in the midst of the storminess, both for ourselves to be staying in alignment with the earth and sky and our hearts and cosmic consciousness, but also so we can be supporting others as they're getting thrown out of balance, and also so that we can be emanating and radiating that energy of higher consciousness, of love, of peace and harmony into the morphogenic field, into the collective consciousness. That will be critical as we're going through these stormy times. Continue to work on your own healing process, because the more that we can do that, the more we clear the ways that we can get caught in our unconscious reactivity or the patterns from the past. Not only are we needing to clear that trauma and pain from the past, but it support to heal, but it supports us in not getting caught in those perceptions and projections that come from unresolved pain and trauma that then tend to keep us in beliefs that are about not being safe, not being able to trust, feeling like we're victims, feeling like the world is a dangerous place and it's all going to hell in a handbasket. It keeps us out of those perceptions and projections from the past and allows us to open to the increasing spiritual awareness of this profound time that we're in, of rebirth, of coming into new ways of being. This has the capacity to be a time of transmutation and resurrection for humanity into new ways of living and being, new forms of consciousness, new ways of healing, new ways of seeing, new ways of experiencing time and space, and new forms coming out of higher consciousness. Continue to do those practices that ground you. Connect with nature. Remember, the earth herself is in an ascension process and can guide us as we attune to her rhythms. She's supporting us in being in the rhythms that are about transmutation and new birth, not about destruction and overwhelm and getting caught in fear. Also, I encourage you, remember that everything is conscious. Connect with the consciousness of the sun that will be beaming these energies to us from the sun and from the galactic center, these cosmic rays. I try to take time every morning to honor the sun. My own way of doing that is I stand and connect with the sun, facing the sun. I don't gaze at the sun anymore because of its increasing intensity, but I honor the sunlight, the energy of the sun, and through the sun, connect with source, divine light and love and wisdom. I honor the sun, and through the sun, connect with source, divine love and light and wisdom. And then I call in that energy to flow through me, surround me, clear me, support me in my healing process, support my third eye, my pineal gland, and expanding so that I can see more and more clearly, see more and more through the eyes of cosmic consciousness, through the eyes of my soul self, and step out of the illusions and delusions in the collective consciousness and the distortions in my perceptions and projections from my own pain from the past. And as we experience these increasing energies of Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, I think it's also important to honor that we're in a liminal time. We're in a time of mystery. We're in a time of transformation. We won't fully see the new forms we're moving into, but we're going to get more glimpses of them this year. We're going to get more support in envisioning them. And then this movement into Aries is be the change you long to see in the world. Take action in each moment, Aries. Be willing to take risks, step forward in new ways, move in new directions, to be manifesting the change you want to see in the world. When the storminess increases, be centered and stand in the center of the medicine wheel in alignment with your soul self, to be the peace and stillness and harmony you long to see in the world. In the midst of the increasing suffering, power over, war, destruction on the planet, be the energy of compassion, of love, of harmony, and peace that you long to see in the world. That will guide you then to attune to your own spiritual guidance, your own intuitive sense of what are my gifts? What is my purpose? What am I meant to do in the world in this time? It'll support you in being in alignment with that and then acting from that alignment. And it will support you in a moment by moment way to be acting in alignment with these energies, Neptune, of peace, of compassion, of higher consciousness, to live that out in your life in the world, how you interact with others, the choices that you make, the decisions that you make. We're being called individually and collectively to get out of survival mode, out of coping mode, and into higher consciousness, to be clear in the choices that we're making and the actions that we're taking. So as you're working with these energies of 2025, ask for that guidance and support to be attuning moment by moment. What am I meant to do in this moment that is energizing these paradigms of truth, justice, peace, love, harmony? And hold with compassion when you get pulled out of balance, or you get caught in the storm, or you get caught in reactivity. But allow your witness self to see that and then support you in coming back to those practices that help you stay centered, help you stay in alignment. And again, the book that I co-authored with Kristina Lee, From Trauma to Freedom, and the workbook that's associated with that, it gives a lot of practical meditation exercises and ceremonies that you can use to be healing, coming back into center, and opening to higher consciousness. May we as a community continue to support each other as we move into this very accelerating time of change and transformation. May we continue to see the bigger picture, to see what's unfolding, to trust in that, trust that we are supported and guided by the earth and sky and cosmic consciousness, to feel that and energize that with and for each other, to be moving more rapidly into not only envisioning, but manifesting this new world together. Blessings and love to all of you. Blessed be.